folks. Welcome inside the Parisi Palace, high above 3773 East Broadway. This is a live edition of the Jake Feinberg Show, coming to you on Power Talk. Please go to our website, powertalk.live. Download our free app to your smartphone so you can stream all of our live local programming, including Solomon on Blast, the Jim Parisi Show, and yours truly, the Jake Feinberg Show. Can't thank you enough for making us part of your day today. And at 41 years young, after 4,000 radio interviews and Facebook Live interviews, it's always important to connect with the divine feminine and those who were able to take their multidimensional self and put it out there to the world in artistic mediums. And my next guest is a singer and a pianist and somebody who was marinating in the psychedelicized California bastion of music in the most fertile time of our country's cultural heritage, a time before full interconnection, a time of individual sound, and a time of real seeking, even by the squarest of cats. Marla Hanson, welcome to the Jake Feinberg Show.
Thank you.
We have a game on this program called Name That Voice. I don't expect you to necessarily know who it is, but take a listen to what he's talking about, and then we'll come back and break it down.
Okay.
That was not the voice.
No.
By the time I came out of the LSD period, and I figured out what I had to do, which was basically start yoga and meditating and just change my life around, and which I did. And so I started that about a year before I came to New York. And by the time I got to New York, New York is a very intense city. And so I kind of like doubled down on my yoga. I started to go to see a lot of different spiritual masters. Basically, once you open the Pandora's box of trying to figure out who you are, self-knowledge, whatever you want to call it, enlightenment, it's a very hard box to close. And I didn't want to. In the end, after doing yoga, which I continued for many years, the yoga of Master Vishnu Devananda, and I would go to the Sufis. The Sufis, for those who don't know, is the more mystical side of Islam, and very, very beautiful side of Islam. Unfortunately, we don't hear much about it. We only hear about the bad side of Islam, but there are bad people everywhere.
Right.
Nothing to
That's
do
right.
with religion.
That's right.
And I used to run into Paul Motion there, who was the drummer with Bill Evans.
Oh, my God.
Who was also a follower of the Sufi way.
You want to take a guess at who that is?
No, I don't. I haven't got the slightest idea.
That was Mahavishnu John McLaughlin from my fourth interview with him. And, I just want you to talk to the peeps out there about the magical, if not mystical side of Sufism in your own experience.
I will speak to you about God. That's what I will speak on. Because I believe that Sufism, Christianity, Buddhism, all of the isms are aspects of God. And God displays his light through each one of us every single day, every single minute. And it's up to us to be able to shine it out into the world. And that's what I've tried to do through music.
Right, but would you say your first experience with God was Sufism?
No. I would say that my experience with God happens on a continuous basis, and each thing that appears in a person's life to give life to that aspect of their life, which is the aspect of God shining through, that it could come through Sufism if you want it to, if you go there and you participate. It can come through Christianity if you go there and participate. It can come through sitting under a tree if you go there and participate in that ideology or that feeling or that awareness that automatically comes to you if you're participating in it.
What do you mean
That's
by
what
I mean? Can you explain what you mean by participating?
Yeah, it's like here, you know, you can go and be able to allow everywhere you put your focus of attention, that's where you are. You focus on something, you are there in the now. No matter where you are, who you are, the now is wherever you focus your attention. If you focus it on Sufism, then so be it. And that's a beautiful place to focus it. But there's a whole lot of other places that you can attain that awareness, you know, the awareness that there is a God or a higher power or a beauteous place to be able to utilize that energy in your life. And it takes those kind of things like Sufism to be able to enliven that and keep it active in the conscious mind. Because when you go to sleep or when you're in a coma, you're not conscious. You're in the third dimensional field right now. You and I are talking in the third dimensional field. You and I are talking in the third dimensional field, right?
I'm going to need you to explain. I love that term, but what does that mean?
That means that we are in three dimensions. I'm on a phone talking to you, and when you're asleep, you aren't out here in the conscious field. When you wake up in the morning, you wake up and you go, oh, I'm awake. But the time between when you go to sleep and you wake up, it's timeless. You aren't aware of stuff, unless, of course, you have a dream or something, but you're not aware like you are all day long in the three-dimensional field of consciousness where we are right now. In other words, you know what I mean, Jake. Come on, right?
Well,
when you go to sleep, are you conscious?
No, I'm just talking about the three-dimensional field with us. I understand the dream state, but as it relates to me and you talking, how is it three-dimensional?
I would do it like this. Can you see your thoughts?
I can visualize them. I can't. I mean, I can not really.
Okay, but your thoughts, when you think them, they go in a specific direction. In the three-dimensional field, which is, I get up in the morning. That's your first thought. Oh, I'm awake. Then it's either I have to go to school, I'm hungry, I need to go to the bathroom, I'm going here, I'm going there. Now you're in the three-dimensional field, but your thoughts are running the process of walking around, eating your breakfast, going to work, all of that. Would you agree?
Yeah, I think that's incredibly well articulated. You know, yes,
and then awake. There's more.
Go ahead.
More.
Go ahead.
Now I want you to do something.
Sure.
Are you listening?
Yes.
I want you to take a big breath. Just take a deep breath. Here we go. You're breathing. Now let it out. Did you let it out?
Yes.
Good. Now listen. Did you see the air that went in?
No.
If you didn't have that air, you'd be dead in 3 minutes. Okay? Just because you can't see it, Jake, doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Okay? What runs the third dimensional, there are so many other levels besides this that we're in.
Right. Again, part of it is also not just my enlightenment, but for all the people around the world, for you to be able to articulate this is extremely important. You're not, talking in a vacuum. So it's important for your wisdom to be articulated to those that have big ears. I guess I can totally appreciate the deities of different religions, kind of all being all encompassing, and they can all represent the same thing. There's something.
And one of the things that they all represent and what they all do is every single one of them plays music, every single one. And the music that they play has the tendency most of the time to be able to heal. A lot of the music that's played is able to heal and mend people, enliven people, like the Sousa songs that used to be played by bands the music was meant to enliven people, to make them stand up, to make them happy. And then things like the Moonlight Sonata were meant to like pull out some of the deepest feelings, in people. So music, one of the ways that you can reach people on a spiritual level is through music. And so that's what I've devoted my life to.
Oh, I think it's beautiful. I going back to Sufism, can you talk about...
Why are we on Sufism?
Unless you're like incredibly opposed to it, it's a big part of your early career. So I'm curious about why you, the physical aspects and the dancing part of Sufism, and how that you can transcend your physical body. I mean, you were with a dear friend of mine.
And who was that?
And this was this cat, Bill Matthew, as a friend of George Marsh's, Aladdin. And he was,
Aladdin. Yeah, I loved him.
So I mean, I guess what I'm trying to say is, allow me to navigate the interview, and wherever the stuff takes you, that's where you go. But the point is that you were part of this choir, and you chose, and the dancing of Sufism was taking you into
yes.
I assume it was healing you. So I would like you to talk about your first experience, how you connected with Aladdin.
I loved him. I loved that he was able to take a group of people and everyone put their troubles aside just for a few minutes, just for a while, to be able to all be together in a great big group. And in the chanting and the dancing, they lost themselves. They lost themselves in a group consciousness that healed them through music. That's why.
People can lose themselves, I guess.
In the woods.
Absolutely. They can lose themselves doing all types of hard drugs. But, I mean, this was more like, I guess what I'm trying to say is this was, when was your first exposure to, you can listen to lyric-chord records and hear, field recordings of Sufis, in the Middle East. But I'm trying to get this understanding of what that looked like the first time that you were exposed to the Sufis. The Sufi choir is one thing, but were you actually in contact with people that were the lineage directly connected to Middle Eastern Sufism?
No, I wasn't. See, to me, there is no. That's how I'm wired. And I believe that every single race, every single person has been designed by God, and that they find their own path, whatever their path is. And if they're going to be a Sufi and dance and dance and dance, and that's how they reach their goal of achieving a state of awareness of God, then all power to them. My first experience was just going Sufi dancing. I loved it. It was fun. It got me happy. I was happy to be with a group of people that were losing themselves in something so beautiful. And whether it took them to God or just beauty or whatever it was that was working for this group of people to keep them from being violent, to keep them from doing drugs, to keep them from having a boring, horrible life or fighting with their children or their mates or whatever, or, any of those things, whatever they were doing was making them happy, and it was healing them while it was happening. And that's why I liked it, and that's why I went. And it was the Fairfax Street Choir that came and said, you can't go anymore because we need you back here to play piano for us. And now the Fairfax Street Choir has been chosen by Ken Burns, as you know, to do the country western music documentary in 2 separate episodes, the 1st and the 7th. And it's funny that you called because we just went to that opening night before last, and Hosanna sang with the Mueller. What was the name of that? The Mule Skinner Stomp Band, and yeah.
I mean, listen, Marla, it's an absolute delight to be talking with you, but don't assume that I know anything. I am not hip to any of this Ken Burns stuff, so please break it down.
Oh, well, I left the Sufi choir. I left that whole thing because the Fairfax Street Choir came and to my door at my house, and actually Hosanna was leading the pack that day anyway, and she was into Sufism terribly. Anyway, so they came and they said, we're sorry, but you don't get to go Sufi dancing anymore because we're having practices on Wednesday night and we don't have a piano player, and since it's your songs, you're it. And so you got to drop it and come back. So I did. I didn't go Sufi dancing. I worked with the choir and taught them parts, and we did a lot of my songs. And so just recently, Peter Miller from Florentine Films, actually, we got a couple of emails on the Fairfax Street Choir website saying, can we use your song in this upcoming PBS Ken Burns music documentary that's going to be airing in September, on September 15th, I believe it starts. And so I said, sure, give me the info. And so they did. And by the way, Peter Miller is awesome. He's such a very kind man.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful man, really. Anyway, so we're going to be in it. And we're so excited, Jake. We really are. We're just so excited, man. It's just such an honor and a privilege, and it's an honor and privilege to talk to you, by the way. I've seen you over and over on, Facebook pages and stuff, and it's just really neat to talk to you.
Oh, no, it's great to talk to you. I mean, I often wonder, I just want to get being that I was birthed in 78, when you were first coming up, you just mentioned this unbelievable. This is so great. One of your tunes is going to be in this Ken Burns film. It's country. You say country western music, and
no, it's called Ken Burns PBS Country Music Documentary. It's 8. There's 8 episodes in the series. Each are 2 hours long. We're the first episode and the 7th episode, I believe it is. And it's just singing. It's just a street choir singing. It's not pictures of. We're not Loretta Lynn or Dolly Parton, for God's sakes. You know what I mean? So we are in it, though. And God, what a great group of people.
Well, no, this is my question. My question is, though. Like,
I'm sorry.
It's fine. It's fine. I want to know, stepping back from it all. That were labels in music prevalent when you were first coming up? Because just the idea of hearing, for my generation, labels in my mind have stratified and made music very rigid, and it's hurt the ability of new musical vocabulary to be developed on the bandstand. So when someone says something like country music, I mean, to me, Fairfax Choir is it's the farthest thing. It's the farthest thing from country music. It's all music, and I'm just wondering if Marla Hanson came from the Duke Ellington School of Music. It's all music, and the subjective part is that it's either good or bad.
I see. That's how you perceive it?
Absolutely. When unveils country music and the Fairfax Street Choir with the Duncans and the Haggertys, are you kidding me? That's not country music. That's music.
Well, Jake, you really need to go to our website and listen to some of the clips, man. Because
you're right. I'm not hip to that. No, I'm not. I mean, dude, don't get me wrong. I'm just saying, let's just taking away the idea that, because it's so cool that you're in that film. But were there any labels attached to me? I mean, you could walk into, Woolworths or a department store and find a Blackridge Brothers or Gary Bart's.
Got it.
Okay, so it was all music. And I just want you to talk about what school are you from? The Duke Ellington School of Music.
No, I'm not from any school of music. During the 60s, which is, back in the 50s there was something going on that was way different. But the 60s broke it through, the 60s, and then the 70s. The 60s were the record labels, the bands like who you said, the Duncans, Gary Duncan and John Cipollina and all those guys, and Quicksilver and Janis Joplin, David, Jimi Hendrix, all those guys back in the late 60s going up into the 70s. The reason that the Fairfax Street Choir is in this country film is because country has roots in all across America, in gospel, in a lot of it in like the Appalachians, the instruments that are used in country western music, like the dulcimer, sometimes the dulcimer, sometimes the dobro, the banjo, the fiddle, there's all these different instruments. Guess what? The Fairfax Street Choir used a whole bunch of different instruments and had songs that came up. If you went to a funeral in the old days back then, you would hear something like "Will the Circle Be Unbroken,"
Mm-hmm.
or you would hear something, and today you still hear those songs. Those songs are prevalent today. And "Will the Circle Be Unbroken," as a matter of fact, is the song that is being put into this film. You will hear 1 minute and 27 seconds, I believe, or something like that, of that song with Rosanna singing the lead on it and the street choir backing her up, a cappella. Thank you very much. And it's amazingly real. It pumps through your veins. It makes you People have sung country music. They could even take a pop song and make it into a country song just because they live in the country. And that's what I say anyway.
Oh, I dig. I was there. I guess just going back though. I mean, when you were. I mean, do you think that like when did labels really come in to music?
As soon as they changed the fiddle to a violin, that's when. In other words, you're asking for distinctions right now.
No, what I'm saying is like there was regionalism to music.
Yeah.
Okay, there was regionalism, but I mean, the idea that you played similar instruments, and again, I have to be clear. I mean, I haven't really been able to marinate in the Fairfax Street Choir, but I mean, was there, like besides the piano, was there any percussion instruments?
Oh, sure. Oh, you mean in the choir?
Yes.
Or just in country music?
No, in the choir.
Oh yeah, we had a drummer. We had several different drummers. We had several different guitar players. We had 25 people that were singing in the choir in 5 different sections, and we had Peter Tork from the Monkees was in the street choir. He was one of my best friends. I loved him so much. Bill Champlin is singing a song that's on this album from the band Chicago. He's in the street choir. Laura Allen from Elektra Records, she was in the street choir. We had all different, and she played dulcimer and sang so beautiful. Jake, if you ever get a chance, go and stream Storm Song by Laura Allen and the Fairfax Street Choir. It is absolutely, she's beautiful.
Let me ask you though. This is really important.
Okay.
Because, well, actually, because you just brought it up, I just think it's important. We're talking to a decorated singer and pianist, and she's humbling me with her selflessness and her trying to stay on the righteous path. So let's take a listen to this tune, and then we'll come back and talk about it.
Okay.
Hey, look over yonder, there's a storm a-coming. Listen, there's a thunder of the heavenly drumming. rivers are running so fast, and I want it to last, oh, I want it to last, I want to make it last forever. Oh God, don't you feel it now? The sky is bursting. I want to run through it. My spirit is thirsting for that wild and windy dance. You come and carry me away. And I said, hey, would you take a chance now and let that stormy wind blow through you? Let the wind blow through you. It's bound to renew you. Let the wind blow through you. It's bound to renew you. Let the wind blow through you. It's bound to renew you. Let the wind blow through you. It's bound to renew you. Let the rain wash over and over. 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 Let the Spirit fill you. I know it will heal you. Let the Spirit fill you. I know it will heal you. Let the Spirit fill you. I know it will heal you. Let the Spirit fill you. I know it will heal you. He will reveal you. He will reveal you. He will reveal you. He will reveal you. Come, take my hand. I want to run with you. Oh, let's be part of this land. I want to feel it with you. I want to feel it with you. I want to kneel. Do you want to kneel right down and kiss this ground? Blessed rain is falling down, falling down, falling down, falling, falling,
Music on the Jake Feinberg Show, brought to you by Abbott Taylor Jewelers, Dr. Diggs of Butch Diggs Dental, and Craig Pretzinger of the Pretzinger Insurance Agency, and we are indebted to them for allowing us to play tunes like that for Marla, Hanson, Hunt, and Marla, Hunt, Hanson. Marla, that was, just to be clear, who was, just explain the context of that. Were you playing on that as well, or were you singing on that?
No, that was Laura was playing dulcimer. Laura Allen. She signed with Elektra Records. She's global. She has a lot of her own albums. She started out and some other labels also. But I followed her around for a long time just to get that song. I think that's one of the most beautiful songs that's ever been written by anyone. That's her, the choir singing, backup. It goes on for a while, as you know. And she played it all the time on almost every gig that we had. And it's just one of the most beautiful songs ever written, I think.
Well, okay, I think it's hypnotic, and it is. I'm so happy. Thank you for hipping me to that. But going back to your earliest times, because again, without having, without listening to a live street choir with a traditional rhythm section, upright bass and drums, you really how did you develop your own internal time feel?
God gave it to me. I'm from a family of musicians. My whole family was in the music business. So I grew up with music around me all the time, and everyone played music. and so of course I played music too. And everyone has their own time signature.
Exactly.
People are their metabolisms run at different rates.
Right.
But when you put a group together, someone has to set the time, and then everyone else needs it. And it's usually the drummer, because they're crazy, usually, and the loudest. But no offense to them.
No, that's what I'm saying. So I mean, what when you didn't, like, okay, so you yourself came from a long line of musicians, and each one of them had their own unique time feel, but you understood and you were able to groove to music and dance and how did you what was the biggest challenge, being that you had especially when you didn't have a drummer or a bass player, how were you, what was the biggest challenge in holding it all together?
Oh, wow. I didn't feel challenged. That was what held it together.
Right, but I mean, I have to believe that there were also people in there that were not. I mean, that was one of the magical things.
The challenge didn't come from the rhythm or the beat or any of that. The challenge for me, if there was one at all, came from the fact that it goes back to the exact thing you started off with, Jake, is that the field that we're in, it's a physical field. Everything you see, everything around you has boundaries and creates a form of one kind or another. This is where we live right now. Our bodies carry our consciousness, and our consciousness is in the third dimensional field. So being a musician here, you are taking from an unseen field. This is why music is the most spiritual of all the arts, because you hit a note, it lands, it's in the physical field, and then it goes right back up to where it was before you hit it. And the only way that anything you can do, clay, it stays in the physical field. You can paint a picture, it stays in the physical field. You play music, it doesn't stay in the physical field until you put it on a piece of tape or a CD or into a studio. So that is for the oldies, like Mozart and those guys. Their biggest thing was they had to take code from the field, the invisible field, the musical field, and bring it down into this area and write it down on paper with notes so that other people could know what the music was. If they weren't, in other words, Mozart wasn't in the room, you couldn't play his songs unless he wrote it down on a paper. But he had to write it down for other people to understand or read the music. So the music would just go right back up to where it was before. So it was very ethereal. It had nobody was holding it here in this field where we are. That was the biggest challenge for musicians back then, and sometimes for now, especially if you play by ear. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Speaking about, you said that. Well, so again, your biggest challenge was just the idea of having it captured on tape and it not really resembling the transcendent nature of music. Like you said, it is the most powerful of the arts. That was the biggest. Go ahead.
It is stays up where it's invisible. You have to hear it or listen to it or play it. And as soon as you're done playing the note, it leaves. It goes right back to where it was before you played it. Do you see what I'm saying? It doesn't have anything to do. It is exactly what you said. Not the most powerful, although I think it's the most powerful of all the arts, but it is the most fleeting. It is the finest. It is like a fine piece of silk that you might find in a bin of, let's say, burlap, So music has a different way of becoming than a piece of clay that you can mold into a statue and leave down here in this earthly field for hundreds of years. We've lost a lot of music from all over the ages because a lot of people didn't know how to write it down so that other people could utilize the beauty of it, or be able to feel it or play it or dance it or any of those things. So it is a very magical, fleeting way of relating to other people, and you can, oh, I don't know how to say to you. I'm trying really hard, but.
Well, no, actually, you're talking to a worldwide audience, so just take it easy and do the best you can, because you're doing a great job.
I am. Oh, thank you for telling me that.
I mean, what I'm saying is we're not in some bubble here. I mean, I think it's not just about my enlightenment. It's truly about. I mean, you've already said a lot of very profound things about big ears and being a street scholar and internal time feel, and now the sort of the fleeting nature of music. So it's not, don't try to think you're explaining it just to me.
Okay. That's pretty much it. It is fleeting, and it can be so beautiful depending on the mind. Jake, I'm just going to say it out. We have one mind and everybody uses it. We're all individualized minds, and we use the one mind that we all share. And when we go into that mind and are able to pull back out the musical notes that we want to put together to make a song, then that becomes the individual's job and the individual's piece that they're offering to the rest of the world, and the individual take on it, you see. But music, excuse me, is individualized by us. We bring it in here to give to each other, or just to make our own selves feel better when we play it. A lot of musicians play music alone over and over and over all the time, in their own studios or in their bedroom or in their living room. They play alone just to align themselves with themselves or with a higher power or with God. A lot of them do that. And they automatically, by the way, just to let you know, by playing music, they are able to integrate the left and right sides of their brain. One is creative and one is, as you know, logical, according to statistics and scientific facts, right? So music has a way of really coordinating both sides. It's a very, it's wonderful. It's a wonderful way to be able to heal yourself and heal others, depending on what you're playing. And Jake,
yes,
just for you,
yes,
this is for you, not
yes,
the rest of the world. If you get a chance, if you want to hear some kick butt, bass, drums, and all of the above, go listen to the first song on "Let Your Light Guide You Home" with Hosanna Bauer singing Rosetta Tharpe's "Music in the Air." It is gospel all the way, and it kicks butt, man. It is hot, and Mike Schreiner is drumming on that, and didn't he play with the Eagles or something like that?
That name doesn't jump off the page. I mean, I guess, I mean, does the I love it. I mean, the Burns series is critical because, like you said very eloquently, there was regional country music all over the place. But how much do you account for the fact that there was free LSD? LSD was legal at a time, especially and most prevalent with Owsley in the Marin County Bay Area. I mean, it was being made at university. It was being made in the universities. It was being done for experimentation, and you could go. Dave Getz from Big Brother, probably a cat you know well, a great cat. He said you could go to the league.
I know Uncle David very well. As a matter of fact,
yes.
I think that Kahulanui, which is my family, they Grammy-nominated Hoku Hoku Hano Hano award-winning band. Some of them have been working with Patrick Makuakani, who is a Kumu over here on the mainland. Who they're starting to put out an album. They're going to use one of Uncle David's songs on it. I'm so excited about it. David is a great. Besides being Janis Joplin's drummer, he's also a great musician and songwriter and an artist.
Believe me, I know. I mean, we did a Facebook Live in Fairfax, and he was just swinging his ass off on the drums. And you go back to the days in New York, he was playing his butt off. But he could go in San Francisco. He could go to the League for Internal Freedom, And much like you can go
Yeah.
buy medicinal marijuana today or go buy cannabis today, you were able to get acid. So how much did LSD factor into the country music of your region of the Fairfax Street Choir?
I really don't know the answer to that. I do know that LSD opened a lot of doors in people's minds.
What about your mind?
that
What
they
about
could
you,
feel-
though? What about you?
My mind? Well, I don't do LSD. I have done it way, way long ago. I loved it. I
Well,
thought it
what I'm
was
saying
just
is that
an
that's my
incredible thing because-
yeah, no, that's my point.
Huh?
Is I totally get that now you don't, but what I'm trying to get at is you did it then. So how did it impact the music at that time? Because it wasn't. There were plenty of places, and there was country music in Nashville and country music in North Carolina, and it was a lot different sounding, and it was a lot more square. There wasn't as much LSD being ingested, so I'm trying to figure out how it impacted the.
Okay.
Yeah.
How that what happened with that? It wasn't just me, Jake. It was like a lot of the people during that time, that were being introduced to that for the first time. And what that did if they made it through, what that did was open up new doors to them that were never opened up, even in childhood. The social structure was so strict all the time, all the way through for all of us, that when they got to the thing, oh, gee, LSD, let's try it, there were new doors that were opened that affected everything. It didn't just affect music. It affected the government. It affected the segregation and the integration and the busing and all of the stuff. It wasn't just the music. The music with Bill Graham out here on this coast was amazing because things like LSD were taken that showed that, yes, this is a molecular structure that we're in, and all the molecules are moving. They really, really are. And I'm not seeing this with my two visual, physical eyes. I'm seeing it with my head, with the thing that's up in my head that perceives, not the thing that sees. And there's a difference.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what was happening to the musicians all over the Bay Area, that, a lot of them. And that's where One Pill Makes You, the song that, God, I was on that album. That Gracie did, the One Pill Makes You Smaller and the other one makes you tall or whatever. White Rabbit.
Oh,
it's
a Grace Slick.
From LSD. Yeah, and that came from a lot of it came, that song in particular came from LSD. So, just go ask Alice if you don't believe me.
No, I don't have the audio queued up, but I want to read you this quote, and then this is really how Marla and I connected because of this quote. This individual said, "I had a girlfriend who was in a band called the Ace of Cups. They were really.
Oh God.
They were.
That's my. Oh.
Just let me finish it up.
Okay,
They were a really hot band in San Francisco. She introduced me to Michael Bloomfield, and said he was looking for a drummer. Buddy Miles had left the group. They were changing from the Electric Flag to the Michael Bloomfield band.
Yeah.
I auditioned and got the gig. John Kahn was in the band, and from that point on, John and I did a lot of studio work and on and on and on. That was from my second interview with, and I'll send you the audio so you can listen to it, but he didn't mention your name, but then you chimed in on Facebook saying, I'm that girlfriend, and I said, well,
yes.
I mean, I'm like, then this woman has great taste, because Bill Vitt, I never saw him really in any live context. I did many interviews with him, but John Kahn's soul is deep in my soul, and he's pushing me forward on this journey. And I just would love you to talk about Bill Vitt left us last week, but even just the idea, like just the vibe of guys like Bill and Bloomfield and John Kahn. It seemed to me like they were the hippest, mellowest cats in the world and most beautiful people in the world, but you lived it, and I'd like you to just riff on it.
Well, I'll just tell you I had a few hard days after Bill passed. I was there out at the shack at at the Dixon Ranch when Phil Woods was in from Missouri. Phil Woods used to play with the Sons of Champlain, and Bill was in his fourth stage of cancer, and Bill had written to me previously, 3 weeks or so before, asking for some pictures, and I didn't really realize it was, I knew he was really sick and everything. So Walt had said, he's coming out. He wants to play with one last time, and so I went because I really wanted to see him and say goodbye and all of that. So it was it was beautiful to see him. It really was. He was just Bill, as he always, but it was hard for him to walk, but he played the drums. They had to help him walk into the drums, and he could still play. It was just frigging amazing.
That's so cool. What a cool thing.
You got to love the guy for that alone. It's like music was his whole life. When he first came up from L.A., and he lived at Buck Sumsky's house, and I won't go into the smuggling part of that.
No, it's fine.
But he lived there. And
what was the guy's name he lived with? Who did he live with?
Buck Sumsky's house. This giant house in Ross.
Buck Sumsky. I don't know that name. How do you spell the last name?
Sumski, I think.
Thank you. Continue.
I
Bloomfield, because you were close with Michael.
I loved Michael. He was one of my best friends. He was God. So Michael called me on the phone. Marla, we've got a gig and we don't have a drummer. Do you know any drummers? And I had never heard Bill play. Never heard him play. And I thought,
are you kidding me?
I'm going to tell her. I'm not kidding you. I'm not kidding you. Michael said, we got to get a drum. I said, I think I know somebody. So I went and I said to Bill, I said, look, you got an hour. Mike's down there. They're doing a sound check. Can you fill in? Are you good enough to do that? And he said, yes. And so we went racing down there. And Bill got up and played a couple of songs, and Michael turned to me, and he put his guitar down, and he came over, and he said, thank you so much. He said, "You're so good, Marla." And I'm like, oh, thank God.
Oh, man.
Because I didn't know if he was good or not, man. I had no idea.
Well, I just want to be clear, though. This is really important that he said you actually weren't a couple. You were just a girlfriend.
Oh, well, we lived together for 2 years, but I guess we weren't a couple.
What I'm trying to figure out, though, is like you knew him because he was staying at some dude's house that at that time you'd never heard him play drums. I
was staying there too. It was a huge, beautiful home with a giant swimming pool and tennis courts.
Wow.
And I was in between houses, and for some reason I was staying at that house, and Bill was staying out in the back house of that. He had a little house back there, and that's how we met, was at that house. Matter of fact, we actually had just met when I took him over to meet Michael.
That is, because you want to talk about a guy, the guy he was the filthiest drummer for Don Costa down in Los Angeles, and there's so many demos that he did for Edie Gourmet and all those cats, and then for him to come back up, he liked the vibe up there, and then it was just, it was really a beautiful synergistic thing that you chimed in, because I was like, I just remember, these guys like Bill and Michael, they were, Michael Bloomfield, not like I ever met the guy or knew him, but he was so unpretentious. He'd rather show up in a bathrobe and play music than get anything, nice on. They just loved to play. They loved people, and they also brought an urgency to the bandstand. And I at the end of the day, what are you, Marla? What musically? Obviously, you've had. There's a lot of legacy. I'm just at 41. I'm really looking to try to harness and get together my first volume of my first book, and it's going to be a real test in discipline and focus to get it over the top, and I can see it as part of my legacy. But I ask you, what are you still working on? What are you still trying to grow in as an artist and as a musician?
I'm trying. Before I tell you the answer to that, I really want to share something with you.
Sure.
In a way that, like, you were right. You're really right about those guys. You really are, and they really were really kind and loving in many ways. Especially Michael. Michael was. It was like when he played guitar, it was like he had angels on his shoulders. Really, I'm not kidding. I used to give him rides home all the time. You know, I used to. He was just. He taught me how to play the bass. Actually, he said it was the one-note samba, and all I had to do was play this one note. But he lied about that, Jake. He lied about it.
That's
and
right.
then I had to do all this other stuff that he said, no, you can do it. You can do it. Well, anyway, he was very mad. All those guys, Buddy Miles too. Even though, you know, I just knew them all. They were like, you know, they were just always around. I don't know. You know, but as far as what I've learned, I've been a musician all my life. And to me, the one thing about me that is true is that I don't have any status. In other words, I don't give status to people. My question is to other people is, are you kind? Are you telling the truth? Are you good in your heart? Those are my questions now about other people. Are you in a place where you're going to just be yourself and actually, you know, be kind to other people? That's what I'm going for, because I see too much violence in the world right now. And I think that we can actually heal the world through, some of us, through music. I believe that. And I believe our next album that it has already come out, and you can stream it, which is called Let Your Light Guide You Home. And it's by the Fairfax Street Choir, and you can get it at Corrales Records, CHORALIS, have to do this Jake.com. But don't put in the have to do this Jake part.
It's all right. No, it's okay. I mean, the only way you got to get it out, you got to get the word out. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm commercialing now. So anyway, this album, everyone that's heard it, everyone has written to me. My God, even Paul Laboratory's wife, Donna, Paul is so amazing too. He's a wonderful man. You know who he is. Anyway, she came up to me and she said, "This is just such a beautiful album. Everyone that has bought it, because it has so many different genres on it of different kinds of music, but they're all healing. Every single one of them, except for the one that I sing. But other than that, they're all, yeah, Angel of Darkness, my goodness, my Lord in heaven." Anyway, my perception now is to have, this is it. I'm going to give it to you. Are you ready?
I am ready.
Okay. This is all I really want in life. I want peace from conflict, and I want beauty around me, period. I want you to be beautiful. In other words, I want grace and beauty coming out of you and her and anyone that I meet. That's what I want to bring forth from them with what I do or who I am. That's what I'm trying for. It's very hard for me because I'm a warrior in a lot of ways, but I'm really trying. I'm trying as hard as I can.
Bless
and
you.
This album, this album does that. If you listen to the, oh my goodness, the music on there is profound.
Well, Marla, it was just an honor to connect with you, and I appreciate. I can hear that you're cultivating your true nature, and you know, like I said, we're all trying to stay on that path, and I look forward to connecting with you further on down the road, and we can do more.
Well, listen. You live in Arizona, right?
That's right.
Yeah, that's because I think someone looked you up, but I think, and then you broadcast through New York? Is that it?
No, we're streaming. It's all extraterrestrial. We're streaming on the web worldwide.
So how do I get a link to get a copy of this interview?
Rest your troubled heart. When I have tonight or tomorrow, I'll get this up online. You'll be able to archive it, and you'll have a copy of it. You can download it, stream it, do whatever you want with it.
Well, where will you let me know where it is?
I'll post it right on. I'll tag. Of course, I will. It'd be my pleasure.
Okay, that'd be great.
All right.
And so then, if you need a place to stay when you come out here, we have the lower suite available. Just to let you know, if you're coming to San Francisco.
Oh my God, are you kidding me? You are the. I am actually very soon.
Oh, okay. Well, give us a call and we'll see if we can set you up.
Love always. It was so good to talk to you.
Well, hey, we're Facebook friends.
Yeah, no, and I'll get you a copy of this. Thank you for humbling me. It was, I mean, you were waxing poetic today. It was beautiful. But I got a jam, so we'll talk soon.
All right.
All right.
We'll talk to you later.
Later on, Marla.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Later on.
All right.
Bye.
Bye. Just getting started here on the Jake Feinberg Show. We'll be back with Rick.
Good afternoon.
Let's speak to Rick Turner, please.
You are.